It is a topic many find disturbing. It is not against the law in New Zealand to eat your pet, the family cat, the family dog. However, the SPCA is pushing for a rule change on that after revelations a Tongan family killed and ate their pit bull for dinner. To discuss the rights and wrongs, we're joined by Garth Halliday and Sue Bardot from the SPCA. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
You were actually called to the home by the fire service, Sue.
Yes.
So at that stage, of course, they didn't know that it was a dog. There was a fire disturbance.
Yeah, they'd been called by somebody in the local vicinity concerned about the amount of smoke, assuming there was a possible fire. They discovered the dog on the umu and immediately called us after removing the dog.
So you arrive. What did you think? What was your first thoughts?
I've been doing this job for 10 years. I've never come across a dog being cooked before. I'd heard about it happening in New Zealand.
It was a family barbecue. I mean, there were a few people around.
Well, at the point that I arrived, most of the people had gone. There was only one gentleman left at the property who was the property owner.
These people obviously thought that they'd done something wrong when you turned up, and they were quite accommodating of you.
Yep.
The extraordinary thing is, because most people would have thought that they'd done something wrong in a situation like that, it's extraordinary for people to learn that actually it's not against the law to do it.
No, it's not. It would only be against the law if the animal had been killed inhumanely. It's all about pain and suffering. As far as the SPCA are concerned, we work under the Animal Welfare Act, and it's not illegal to kill an animal, regardless of whether it's your pet or, a cow you've been raising for meat.
So the key, presumably, Garth, is cruelty, isn't it? Most people would assume that it was cruel to kill an animal, but we have to be very careful that double standards don't come into play here, because we kill animals all the time, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're governed by the Animal Welfare Act 1999, and in there it does talk about cruelty, suffering, and what the animal actually went through. Now, in this case, the evidence is that the animal was hit very hard on the head with, we think, a hammer, which rendered it stunned, and then its throat was slit. And in terms of legality, with absolutely no evidence that the animal suffered any pain.
Last night on One News, when this story was around, as you can imagine, there were a lot of complaints about it. There were pictures of the dog being roasted, for heaven's sake, which the majority of New Zealanders are appalled by the very thought of. But again, it is a double standard to an extent, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, we have to remember that it's an animal. Regardless of whether it's a dog, a pig, a cat, a sheep. I mean, plenty of people have a pet lamb, which eventually ends up in the pot.
Take it to pet day and take it home.
Exactly. Calf club animals, or rear their own stock for consumption. So it's not much difference. It's just that to most people in New Zealand, dogs are companions. They're our best buddy. They come out with us. They do everything with us.
Is this sort of a risk here that this story getting publicity could lead to this happening more often?
I would assume it would probably happen less.
As a result of the publicity? Because maybe more people of that persuasion might recognise that it's not acceptable.
Yeah, and I think most, the chap that in this case actually didn't know. He thought it was the same as back home in Tonga, so he assumed it wasn't illegal. It was fine to do that.
All right, so from the SPCA's point of view, your key concerns here are what?
Oh, I think the fact that this can happen in New Zealand is obviously quite a worry. As I mentioned, the Animal Welfare Act was first written in 1999. It is up for review this year, and certainly we'll be getting involved in that and trying to make a few points. I think.
Would you want to outlaw this?
Oh, but there's probably a lot of talking needs to go on first, because obviously you've got all the cultural issues within a place like New Zealand where people are used to certain things.
But then
it is New Zealand.
Where do you draw the line?
Oh, absolutely.
What animal is going to be on the safe side of the line and which one's going to be on the...
Yeah, I think probably even more important, and the team under Sue do get involved in this a lot, we need to educate people. So it's not just educating people, please don't cook your dogs. It's entertaining people, please don't chain your dog up outside without water, without food. Please don't fire shots at cats, and we can educate. And we have started quite a big education program where I think something like 30,000 school children have now been seen over the last year. Norm Hewitt gets involved with us to actually go out and teach people hurting animals is not a good idea.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, all the very best with that, and I'm sure this would generate a great deal of talk, if it hasn't already, a great deal. All right, Sue Bide and Garth Halliday, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.